Hi, Virgo. Welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for November 2019. For you, Virgo, there's going to be some interesting Mercury activity this month in your third house, which is where Mercury likes to be. And since you're a Mercury ruled person, I think that really matters. And a couple of lunations. But before all of that, I want to hear what Julia has to say about romance and action through Venus and Mars. Take it away, Julia.
Amy. Well, Virgo, this month, let's talk about Venus, which is the relationship planet. It's how we like to socialize. It's where we find pleasure, too. And Venus, the very first day of the month, is entering Sagittarius, which is actually your fourth natal house. And that is the house of family and home. So when the planet of social activity goes into this house, it means that you want to socialize with people that you can bring into your home, not just anybody. I mean, the nadir, which is a really important point in astrology, is in the fourth house, and that's the face that you only show to people who you feel private and personal relations with. So this month, you might just want to invite some friends over, especially people who can see your domestic, kind of vulnerable side, and maybe also find ways of beautifying your home as well. Maybe getting a few nice plants or repainting a room while Venus is in this house.
Great time for that.
Yeah, you like that?
I do.
Virgo likes its little projects too.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Mars is going to start the month in Libra, which is in your natal second house, and that's the house of money and possessions. And Mars is a very sort of active planet. It's wherever it is in our chart is where we're applying our energy. But Mars, being this very kind of feisty, active planet, can also be a little bit impulsive as well. So when it moves into your house of possessions, you might be feeling a little extra spendy, online shopping. Before you go to your shopping cart and just wanting to hit buy, step back for an hour or two from the computer and be like, okay, do I really need 4 pairs of poop emoji socks? Or, is one pair just fine? Because you just might be a little extra impulsive with the things you want to buy this month.
Oh, that's hilarious.
You know what I'm talking about, the little poop emoji?
I do.
Yeah. One pair, you don't need so many. And then when Mars moves into Scorpio around November 18th, that's going to be in your natal third house. So then your activity, it's going to kind of pick up the social tempo of your life, especially around your neighborhood. You might be extra busy running trips, doing errands, talking to neighbors, reaching out to your siblings too. But since it's a communication house, you might be a lot more sort of fervent in your communications with other people. Mars can sometimes go a little bit overboard too. So just kind of watch what you say and be a little bit more conscious of that. Yeah. And what else are you seeing this month, Jamie?
Well, that's a great segue actually to talking about Mercury Retrograde, which is also in that third house. And I'm just rolling back the clock here to the 11th because that's where there's an interesting milestone for Mercury Retrograde. So this month, Virgo, you might know that Mercury is retrograde in Scorpio almost all month. It began on October 31st. And it's, whenever Mercury, the little guy, with the wings on his hat, goes retrograde, communications get snarled up, office machinery breaks down, there's disorder in the ranks, you might say. And sometimes, people pop up from the past with things that they had left unsaid. And so it's a really good time for, grabbing a couple of big old garbage bags and doing a major clean out. And that can be literal or it can be a metaphor. This particular Mercury retrograde is happening in your third house of communication. And that does suggest that there are some things that you haven't said before that maybe need saying, that maybe there's a purging, a cleansing that needs to happen relative to your voice. And there is going to be a wonderful day in the midst of all this that I call Epiphany Day. It's happening on the 11th, and I call it Lesser Epiphany Day because this is the day when Mercury and the Sun meet, and it's the time that happens while Mercury is going retrograde. And the Sun is going forward and they meet in the middle in a burst of insight. Greater Epiphany Day is when Mercury is going forward and the Sun is going forward and Mercury catches up with the Sun and passes it. So, but either Epiphany Day is a time of insight, aha, clarity descending on your head. So, um, if there's stuff that you've been holding back, that you've been feeling bitter about, and we know about you, Virgo, that there is this tendency to notice details, to notice perfection, to notice imperfection, and to be somewhat critical. And it's really important that your words don't acquire a sort of a calcification of bitterness. And a good clean out of what you need to say every once in a while is really necessary to keep, resentment from accumulating. So it's, I think a lot of it is a matter of figuring out how to express what you need to say in a way that's warm and gracious and kind. So Epiphany Day can be really helpful for that. Then, as we move along through the month, Mercury does finally turn direct right about here on the 20th, 21st. Thank goodness. But it's not really over until about another week has passed. And then at that point, Mercury has speeded up and it's kind of back to normal. So the other things I wanted to tell you about Virgo are a couple of lunations. There is a full moon in Taurus, and that's happening on the 12th, very close to Epiphany Day. And here it is, the full moon in your ninth house in the sign of Taurus, and in that's opposite the sun in Scorpio in your third house. And that sun is hanging out with Mercury, so that's right around Epiphany Day, and there's a lot of cerebral activity going on there. But this moon is more emotional. It's also more embodied, and frankly, it's more interested in adventure because this is the ninth house here. So when the Mercury retrograde activity of this month has you in your head too much, has you focused on the small too much, has you applying a microscope to every little bit of pain that you absolutely must communicate, take a break around this full moon and go out into nature, have some adventures, get in touch with your body, relax, place yourself around beloved animal companions. And that could be a great way to spend this full moon. Now, the full moon is happening on the 12th, so the 3 days surrounding the 12th, the 11th to the 13th, are really the best time to be doing that. There's another moon coming later in the month on the 26th, and it shares a characteristic with the full moon, which is that both of these moons have a lot of harmony in them, not a lot of stress, which is really great news because moons are emotional. They bring up a lot of feelings. And it's nice when those feelings can kind of flow unimpeded without having to create a really big upset and a torrent of emotion. So what I've been saying about that full moon is, during that full moon, you can have a catharsis and it doesn't even have to hurt. During the new moon, it gets even nicer. And here we get back to what Julia was saying about that Venus passing along through your fourth house in Sagittarius. Your fourth house with this Sagittarius energy can be such a joyful place to be. Now, maybe that's because Virgo, you have a tendency to like things organized. Maybe that makes you feel comfortable to invite people over and be host or hostess. This would be a great month for that. I'm calling this one the last party moon before winter. It's a new moon, which signifies new beginnings, planting seeds. In particular, in Sagittarius, we're talking the seeds of tolerance, the seeds of acceptance, the seeds of understanding people who are different from yourself, and how that can make home such a wonderful, warm hearth to gather at and gather around. So, some pretty nice stuff there. Virgo, if you were thinking about having a reading, I would say it's not too late to get that birthday reading if you missed it for your birthday. Just because the first quarter of your personal year has already begun is no reason why you can't still get oriented to it, find out what's happening in it, and get aligned with the stuff that's coming down the pike. That's the way to be in charge of your year. And that's all we have for you today, Virgo. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. You can always find your horoscope, the horoscope for your rising sign and also your sun sign, on our horoscope page, pandoraastrology.com/horoscope, or on our YouTube channel, Pandora Astrology, in the November horoscopes playlist. And we'll see you around the cosmos. Bye.